Welcome to Let's Talk Live.
It is Tuesday, and I just saw my first Christmas commercial on TV.
You're kidding.
I am appalled.
Really?
Have you seen one?
I have not seen one, but you know, I haven't been in any mall stores recently, and part of the reason I don't want to go is I just get so turned off when I see that stuff.
Yeah, I will tell you right now, warning, the Christmas trees are up in the department stores.
Yeah.
You can buy an ornament right now if you want.
Don't want to.
It's wrong. It's wrong. If we're not wearing coats outside, I think there should be some law enacted where I should not hear Christmas music.
And I've heard they're going to have 2 Black Fridays this Christmas season. You know,
They're
Black Fridays
already
where
nice.
you know, they try to make the profit for the
Yeah,
rest
day
of
after Thanksgiving.
because they're not going to make one with just one. So, anyway.
It is a crazy world.
Consider
I'm just not
yourself
ready
forewarned.
yet. Yeah, you're forewarned. This is what we have on the show today. Our friends over at the Politico are stopping by to dish on what's going to happen tonight after the votes are counted.
Yeah, a lot of people watching these races really closely. There's 3 key races in New Jersey and upstate New York, and then of course Virginia, right here in hometown.
There's going to be some patés tonight.
You're Virginian. Have you hit the polling booth
I have
yet?
voted. I voted early.
Good for you.
I'm done. Check.
First
Have
stop.
you voted?
As soon as I get out of here.
Okay,
Heading that
good.
way.
We're covered.
Also, coming up, what to do. This is a very difficult subject, but a lot of people need to address it in a very serious way. What do you do when you and your spouse have decided to call it quits?
Other than fighting. It's the peaceful way to go. Believe it or not, we're going to try to talk it out. Plus, the hottest looks for when the temperature starts dropping and you can play that Christmas music. This is just my pet peeve today. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. But first, it's an incredible story that stole the hearts of millions more than a year ago.
We're going to meet Cinnamon right now. There she is. She's taking a little nap right on our set here. She wandered her way onto a military camp in Afghanistan where she made a home with the men and women who are serving our country over there. And now you can read all about it in her story, a new book called Saving Cinnamon. Today we are joined by the authors, Christine Sullivan, her brother Mark Pfeffer, and of course, Cinnamon herself is here with us. Thank you for all coming in today.
Thanks for
Great to
having
see you.
us.
This is a really touching story about this dog who's made it halfway around the world. And I see she's probably put on a few pounds like most people do in the country of the United States.
She has. She came, when she first got here, she was very, very thin. She had been through quite a bit, quite a lot.
I remember when she came home I guess it was about a year ago, I covered it at Dulles Airport, I think it was, for the regular news on Channel 7. And just what a story. So basically, she wandered on this base in Afghanistan and became friends with the guys.
She became the camp's dog. And if you can imagine a very high stress, war zone environment, male dominated, and then to take a 5-minute break from that environment to spend time with her was a really valuable service that she did for the soldiers and all of us on the camp.
This is interesting because dogs in that part of the world are not like dogs in this part of the world.
That's correct.
They're basically running free for the most part. People don't use them as pets, I assume, right? They just reproduce, they wander, they live probably short and miserable lives. When they die, some people use them to hide IEDs and things of that sort. So
right, it's an unfortunate circumstance, but she really bonded with many of the soldiers on our camp. She was really the camp's dog, and that's what, when I got there, how I started bonding with her and decided to bring her home.
You decided to bring her home, and that's where the story gets really interesting because you can't be in the service and bring home pets. That's the absolute hard and fast rule.
I'm surprised they let you keep her on base or around where stuff is going on.
Well, it's sort of tolerated, and I think most of the senior leadership understands that this is a service. This is like 5 minutes of leave. I want to spend time with my family. I can't, so I spend time with my dog.
Now, Christine, you heard about Cinnamon. Was this through the webcam? Were you guys Skyping, or was it email pictures?
No, we weren't Skyping just yet. Mark was sending pictures home, and we would IM early online at the same time. And you know, we are a dog-loving family, and we all fell in love with her, and then knowing, you know, Mark had already bonded with her. So when he decided to bring her home, and that just went so terribly wrong, she went missing 7,000 miles away.
Yeah, tell us about that. She was expected at O'Hare Airport in Chicago, and then no Cinnamon.
No Cinnamon. Mark called his wife the next day or later that night and heard words that he will describe, he'll never forget. His wife said, "Mark, she's not here. It's just a nightmare. She didn't make it."
And you had somebody who you had prearranged to have her put on a plane and delivered to this country, right?
Well,
what happened to that person?
Not really just delivered. He was supposed to be traveling with her. It was a dog handler who was supposed to travel with her and gave her away, didn't tell us, or didn't tell Mark and Alice.
Gave her away to who?
We didn't know, and that's why it became so dicey, because he landed in Chicago, mumbled something to the person we had who was supposed to meet him there, mumbled something about losing her along the way, and he kept going for his connecting flight.
Wow.
And basically disappeared without telling us very much for
So you had to
several days.
embark upon a detective mission to find out
Pretty
where
much.
she
Yeah,
was.
where do you go from there?
Where do you begin? Exactly. And Mark was still over there, so he spent some time looking for her for 2 weeks and came up short, just sent out this amazingly gut-wrenching email. Cinnamon's gone for good. I should have left her where she was. I only wanted a better life for her. And so I cried for a very long time when I read that email, and then I got into action, and I just did anything and everything I could think of, reaching out to animal lovers, animal advocates, and it was just finding the needle in the haystack. And it wasn't a simple thing. We hit obstacle after obstacle after obstacle to find her, then to connect with the people who had her, to get them to agree to release her back to Mark.
So Mark, what actually happened to her? Who had the dog?
Well, we don't want to give too much of the story away.
Tease us just a little bit.
Right. So there was some type of a snafu at the airport, and she ended up with some folks in the country in transit. So I was in Afghanistan. She was expected in the United States, and she wasn't in either one. So we really had incredible obstacles of, small stuff that you wouldn't think of. Language barriers.
Yeah.
I couldn't just pick up the phone and call these other countries because they didn't speak English. Time differences. I still had military duties that I had to attend to. So we just started a phone and email campaign. Chris really launched it to try and find out where she was.
How long did it take before you were able to find her and get her back?
Well, it took 44 days to ultimately have her reunited with Mark. The joyous reunion at JFK Airport, and we talk about how she looked when she came back. She lost about 1/3 of her body weight. She was drawn, and her rib cage was showing. So it was an incredible odyssey for all of us. Just really difficult. It could go wrong at any moment, but there was an amazing number of people whose just kindness and generosity that they helped us out every step along the way, and it would not have been possible without every single one of them.
It's so hard to think that other people don't have that love for animals like you do. I mean, we treat our dogs like a part of the family, you know?
Right.
And so to see her come back like that must be just heart-wrenching to see her so thin.
It was hard, but she was home. At that point, actually, it was kind of interesting because every success we had along the way, I would share with Mark, and he wasn't celebrating yet. And I'm like, "This is good news," and he's like, "She's not home yet." And so he was really hesitant to start celebrating because of what she had already been through and what had already happened the first go around. It went really wrong at first.
Is there a larger story to be told through Cinnamon's eyes or through your experiences about the situation in Afghanistan and what your perceptions of it are?
I think the story to be told is that the military should reconsider the policy. I think the service that the companion animals in the war zones provide for the soldiers, it's an invaluable service. It really is a break that is invaluable to take that time once a day, twice a day, to spend a few minutes with her and not thinking about what you just saw when you were out on patrol or what you had to do when you were out on patrol.
Right.
The other part of it, if I might add to that, is we're often questioned about the time and effort and expense that went into bringing just a dog home from Afghanistan. Why are you bringing this animal from another country when so many animals here need homes? And my response to that is that all of the stray animals and homeless animals across the globe need saving. They all need homes, and when you fall in love with one and you bond one, that's the one that you are meant to save.
And has there been any criticism at all from people who say, why aren't you focusing on the people of
sure.
Afghanistan?
Sure.
The people who are being tortured by the Taliban or whatever.
Sure.
Do you hear that, and what's your reaction
We
to
do.
that?
Well, there's lots of groups that are advocating for that group of people, that group that needs help. And there are those that will and need to advocate for for animals. And my feeling is we're all in this together. We all have our passions, and if we all do what we're meant to do, the world becomes a better place.
And it is such a neat story. The book, again, Saving Cinnamon, and there's a book signing tonight. You guys are going to be in Annapolis at a Barnes & Noble, and that's at 7 o'clock. Cinnamon, thanks for coming in.
You've been just an absolute joy to be here.
Mark and
Calm,
Christine,
cool, and
thanks for
collected.
coming on the show.
We're so glad to be here.
Good luck with the book.
And she's bilingual too, right?
She is.
Barks in both languages.
Also on the show today, find out how you can enjoy some magical music and honor veterans all at the same time.